Hi, so in this video we're going to have a look at something called the unit circle, okay, and we're going to investigate its application to trigonometry. Right, so let's start off by drawing a circle. Okay, what do we mean by unit circle? Unit circle just basically means a circle that has a radius equal to 1 unit. Okay, that's what unit circle means. So let's attempt to draw a circle here. All right, so we're going to draw a circle. Okay, we're going to use this sketch recognition software to transform this into a circle, which does it very nicely. And then we're going to attempt to draw in an axis in here. Okay, so if we have a line going through there, we call that x. All right, and if we have a line going through here, we call that y. Okay, and that is our origin. Okay, and if we draw a triangle in here, okay, we draw a triangle in here, so let's bisect there. Okay, so if we count down, okay, so what we have here, all right, what we have here is a little right angle triangle in a circle. Okay, and obviously this is a radius of 1. All right, so what we see then is we have a little right angle triangle with a radius of 1. Okay, and we can call this y. Okay, and we can call this x, right? And this is going to be the angle in question right here. Okay, so what we've actually done is we've gone and put in this right angle triangle on a Cartesian plane. So we've introduced this Cartesian plane in, and now we can put little triangles in all of the different quadrants. So we're going to explain the concept of the quadrants. All right, so obviously where you've got positive x and you've got positive y, we refer to this as being the first quadrant. So we call this quadrant 1. Quadrant 1, okay. Where you've got y and negative x, so I'm going to put in a negative x in here. Okay, we call that, let's just put in the negative y here as well. So we call this quadrant 2. Quadrant 2. And where you've got negative x and negative y, we call that quadrant 3. And where you've got negative y and positive x, we call that quadrant 4. Okay, so another thing to note, okay, is the angles of theta. Okay, so this angle that we have in here of theta, okay, this little angle in here, okay, this angle can basically, or this triangle can be drawn in any of these quadrants. So it can be drawn in, if we take this across here, can be drawn in here as well. Okay, all right, let's not confuse. So it can be drawn in here, right? Okay, so it can be drawn in there, with this being theta now, okay, and that being y, and obviously this is going, this length here is going to be minus x. So if this reading is x on here, right, and that reading is y on here, then okay, obviously the y is going to be positive in the second quadrant here, but the x is then going to be negative. So you see you're going to get negative x in here. And then moving along down here to the third quadrant, okay, you can draw that same triangle in here as well. So triangle, remember this is a right angle triangle, eh? So if we get in there as well in the second one, draw that right angle in there. So coming down to this triangle, we see that we've got a negative x again on here, and we've got this time a negative y. Okay, I'm going to put the points in just now, just busy explaining it here. All right, and then also in the fourth quadrant, okay? So you can get it in the fourth quadrant as well. Okay, so looking at the fourth quadrant, okay, which is also right angled, okay, we have these unit circle or this little triangle that can be drawn in any of these quadrants, if we could call it quadrants. Okay, that's the proper terminology. All right, so what I want to explain now is actually giving the coordinates, okay, of all of these points. I think that's important at this stage to clarify on what actually happens here. So if we have a look at these quadrants, if we define the points, okay, we define the points. Oh, this one's being stubborn here. Move down. Yeah, there you go. Move that down there. All right. So if we get in here and we actually put the points in, okay, we see that the coordinates of this point here, okay, it would be, in terms of x, it would be minus x, and in terms of y, it would be minus y. Okay, so if we get in to the second quadrant, we write the coordinates of this point down, that would be negative x as well. Okay, and for y, it would be positive y. All right, getting back to the first quadrant, okay, coordinates of this point would be x and y. And getting into the last quadrant, the coordinates at this point would be positive x and negative y. All right, so extending this to the trigonometric ratios, we can actually find some interesting things. So if we look at sine, okay, so we know sine is basically sine of theta, we know is opposite over hypotenuse. So if we look at this triangle, the opposite side would be y, right? And the hypotenuse would then be 1. So we see that sine theta is then just y, okay? If we have a look at the cosine of theta, okay, we see that that is the adjacent side over the hypotenuse side. So the adjacent side then would just be x, and the hypotenuse would be 1. So cos theta would then just be x, right? And if we have a look at the tan, okay, the tan of theta, that would be opposite over adjacent, and that would then be opposite side, which is y over x.